was a fun one. I enjoyed listening to you guys sing, having fun with those songs. I enjoyed it. I hope you guys did as well. But some of those songs, for some of you, were a little bit harder to get right off the bat, or just to know in general. But each of them had a distinct rhythm and melody and instrument that we all recognize at once upon a time, if not the words. But they all work together to make a beautiful song. Everyone has a unique way of contributing to our friendship and families, but maybe we will discover how those connect to our relationship with God. So the series Rhythm, this is how we're going to define rhythm throughout this entire series, and it is a predictable pattern people learn. Rhythm is a predictable pattern that people learn, and that's going to be the definition that we use throughout this entire series. In the music that we listen to, rhythms hold their notes together. So let's think about your favorite band. How many of you have been to a concert? How many of you have been to your favorite band's concert? Okay. Reagan? Olivia Rodrigo? Okay. Callie? Justin Bieber? Lincoln? Billy Joel? Caleb? Huh? I have no idea what he said. I'm going with it, though. What did he say?
Maybe.
I have no idea who that is. Calvin? Who'd you go see? Okay. Okay. There were some of them I don't know. That was it? That's everybody? Nobody? Skillet. Okay. AJ? Zach Williams. Okay. 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 Morgan Wallen. I heard that a few bit this morning. All right. So we all have our favorite concert. We've all been to at least a concert. I went to go see Red Rocks Worship, which is my favorite worship group out there. I've also been to my favorite artist, Kelly Clarkson. You can judge me all you want. It is what it is. I love Kelly Clarkson. She's my girl. But you guys saw that each member of that band had their own instrument. But beyond that, the people that you didn't see, the audio engineers, the lighting techs, the stage managers, were all doing things too. When they all work together, it should flow really, really well. You got the stage techs, the lighting people, and all that stuff. Because if we were to just throw these lights on flashing and no one was up here, what would you guys think? We're losing our minds, right? If there was just one person singing, you'd be like, this is really awkward. If it's just a bass guitar player, you'd be like, oh, okay, this is a nice beat. But other than that, when they all flow together, when things come together, it makes a good rhythm, and it makes the music sound great. But these artists and engineers didn't just wake up one day and be able to craft brilliant songs or put together incredible productions. They had to put some work in, and they probably had to go to school for it as well. All musicians, lighting techs, engineers had to start somewhere. And everyone needed to show up to make something incredible, whether it's your favorite band, an orchestra, a choir, a professional actor, athlete, or influencers. There's something really powerful when they display their talent to create something beautiful. In the Bible, we see people using their gifts all the time, throughout Scripture. Old Testament, New Testament, we see it displayed. And sometimes we may hesitate to add what we can offer to the world. We may feel inexperienced or unsure of what to do, and the Bible helps us see that we don't have to do this alone, and God invites us to join others in finding rhythms to connect with God and use our gifts. In the early church, Paul talks about it in Romans 12, 6 through 8, and it says, we have different gifts according to the grace given to each of us. If your gift is prophesying, then prophesy in accordance with your faith. If it is serving, then serve. If it is teaching, then teach. If it is to encourage, then give encouragement. If it is giving, then give generously. If it is to lead, do it diligently. If it is to show mercy, do it cheerfully. What Paul mentioned weren't all of the gifts that were given, but the point is that we all have gifts given to us by God, whether we know it or not. The book of Romans was written to a community of Jesus followers composed of Christians from different ethnic groups and religious backgrounds with all unique gifts. Unfortunately, that led to quite a bit of tension, and it seemed like all of the different rhythms and voices were not coming together in a unified melody. Again, if we're all fighting against each other to try to do the same thing, are we really doing good? I don't I don't see how that would work. The people in the Roman church likely saw that their differences as weaknesses, but Paul was trying to help them see their gifts as a good thing. They all needed each other, and if they could bring their unique gifts and talents together, they could create a melody that reverberated around the city. Some of these people would hear God, would learn about God, and hopefully would go out and start teaching about God too. Sometimes I think we need to be reminded of it too. I need that reminder at times. But if we have a talent or gift that God has given us, then it is our responsibility to understand what that gift is and use it to serve others. And we need all of these unique skills to help complement each other. So each unique gift is used to serve one another and to connect people to God and to others. And so you get a choir and a band together, or just a choir, all the harmonies, everything flow together, and it sounds really, really nice. So Caleb showed me this video a couple months ago, right before a movie that we went to go see, and I thought it fit really, really well of seeing different things just layered together to make a really cool song. Here's the first part of the video.
All right, so this is probably my favorite part of the show. If any of you guys know this, we write and produce and record our music in our living room. And when we produce, we like to experiment a lot. Produce with a lot of layers, experiment, try and find weird sounds you don't normally hear in music. So if it's all right with you guys, I'm going to show you how we produced one of our songs, all right? Okay, so me and Jack were working one day, and our neighbors were being particularly loud that day. You know, we heard a lot of this. But we said, you know what, let's ignore them and power through. So we started with a kick drum, like this. That's good. Can we find a snare drum as well? Let me hear that. Okay, that's a good start. Once we had the kick and the snare, we laid it down on the beat, like this. Then we added a little hi-hat that sounded like this. Wait, can you play that hi-hat alone? What about if you played it backwards? Yes, that. Use that instead. More interesting, right? Okay, next we wanted a bass line. And we wanted something that was really epic and inspirational. Something like this. Then we added a little piano. But we thought... sorry, those neighbors. We thought if we slowed down the tempo, it would sound more like an AJR song. Can you slow down the tempo a little bit there? Let me hear that. Keep going. Yeah, that snare sounds a little bit rocky. What if we tried more of a hip-hop snare? Yeah. Ah. But it was still sounding kind of mellow, right?
All right, so you're catching on what he's doing. He's starting to build it up. He's putting these layers together to eventually make a really cool song. Here's the second part of it.
Yeah. Chris, can you copy what she's doing on your drums? I like it, I like it. Bring the music back in. Hey. All right, we were almost done. There was one more step. We needed to find a really catchy chorus melody. The kind of melody that when you heard it, it really made you turn your head and... Sorry, we needed a really catchy chorus melody. Jack, play that back again. Now play it back. Yeah. Arnetta, bring back in those trumpets. And Chris, the drums.
All right, that was the end of it. You caught how it worked anyway. I thought it was really cool watching the little bits and pieces come together to make the different rhythms, the different sounds, and it come together as one. to make a really cool song. And obviously, a lot of other people thought the same thing because there was a lot of people there. It's been stuck in my head all day. But the layers worked together to create the song, but each contributed it uniquely as a gift. Because who would have thought a crying baby would turn into what it did? If you just heard a crying baby alone, how many of us are like, crying babies are annoying? Like, we love them, but let's be honest, like they get annoying after a while. But he turned a crying baby into a song. If you just heard a crying baby, you're annoyed. You hear just a bass or a kick drum, you're like, okay, it's a nice, cool beat. But when we add everything together like that, it creates a really unique song. And when we all create rhythms to use our gifts, the world comes alive, just like that piece of music, and it thrives and it flourishes because we collectively use our gifts to bring God's goodness to earth. Jesus shows us that it's not just about using your gifts, but also doing it from a place of rest. So we're going to read Mark chapter 1, verses 29 through 30, but I'm going to set it up first. So the first couple of verses through 29 through like 32, Jesus just left the synagogue teaching. He went with James and John to Simon and Andrew's house. Simon's mother-in-law is sick. She's in bed with a fever, not feeling well. I mean, how many of us really like fevers? But when Jesus heard this, they told him, Jesus walked up, grabbed her by the hand, helped her up. She was healed. No longer sick, fever's gone. She was just fine as if nothing ever happened. And we pick up in verse 32. And here's what it says. That evening after sunset, the people brought to Jesus all the sick and all the demon-possessed. The whole town gathered at the door, and Jesus healed many who had various diseases. He also drove out many demons, but he would not let the demons speak because they knew who he was. Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. Simon and his companions went to look for him, and when they found him, they exclaimed, "Everyone is looking for you." Jesus replied, "Let us go somewhere else, to the nearby village, so I can preach there also. That is why I have come." So he traveled throughout Galilee, preaching in the synagogues and driving out demons. So we see Jesus heal all these sick, demon-possessed people, and it's not surprising that Jesus had the gifts to do it. He is the Son of God, like it is, like that's what he gets. But Jesus invites us into something more than that, and that's rest. We all enjoy our rest, right? Whether it's a break from school, break from sports, whatever it is, we enjoy that rest. It gives our body time to rest. We get to sleep, and we hopefully get re-energized, which is the point. Because if you're tired, are you really going to give your sport your all? No. If you're tired, are you going to give your school your all? Because in the mornings, I'm sure classes are not easy because you're tired. You're like, I don't want to do this. But when we have time to rest, it helps our body, and we grow. So think about the concert that you watched. Did every band member play every single second of the songs? I mean, depending on which concert you've been to, probably not. Because the concerts I've been to, there are times where they break off and do like a little acoustic set, or like a little piano time, a little breakdown time, where not everyone's playing. There are times throughout the songs where some people aren't playing. But they take that time to rest. Whether it's a high moment, a fast moment, slow moment, you may consider it a boring moment, but the concert is still fun, the energy's still there, and the rhythms flow together and make something beautiful. The same is true with our gifts. Jesus had a rhythm of serving others and meeting needs, and then he would pause and go away for some time of rest, pray, and sleep, and return continuing to use his gifts to serve others. And Jesus invites us to do the same. I could take this advice for myself, but we can take a pause and break, and a break which allows us to return feeling renewed and recharged to somewhat what we have to offer. So seeing Jesus use his gifts from a place of rest must have profoundly impacted Peter. And in a letter that he wrote in 1 Peter chapter 4, here's what he has to say. Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as a faithful steward of God's grace in its various forms. Peter, a follower of Jesus and a friend of Jesus, now a leader of the early church at this time, he was once just a simple fisherman. Just fishing, doing what he loved, doing what he grew up doing. And he threw that all away to go follow Jesus. God invited him. Jesus invited him to, hey, follow me. As Peter followed Jesus, he learned a lot about how Jesus did things. Jesus was always serving, and he never imagined that, Peter never imagined that he'd become a leader, but served, and he stepped further into his gifts consistently, modeling the rhythms that he learned from Jesus. So it's a pattern that's learned. That's what we're talking about when it comes to rhythm. So he learned what Jesus did, and he started following that rhythm too, and he got into his own rhythm. So like Peter, each of us has been given or has been gifted with abilities to do things uniquely, and this means that God is calling you to create rhythms to use your gifts. Creating a rhythm to use your gift may be a bit intimidating, but I can tell you, I was already serving here at the church at the time. I was helping in middle school. That's pretty much all I was doing, but I wanted to do something else. I felt called to do something else. And it was a friend of mine that goes, because how many of us actually sing in the car? Like, we've all sang in the car before, at least once, twice. I think if your hand is down, no offense, love you all, you're lying. You've all sang in the car, okay? But my friend heard, and she was like, I think you should try out for the worship team. Send Zach a video of you singing. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. You should probably start leading worship and send a video to Zach. I did. If I really wanted to, if I felt a little bit better about myself, I would play the video that I sent Zach as I sang Hercules in my car. It was dark. You couldn't see my face. And I remember Zach saying after he heard the video, he goes, wow, you can sing. I was like, yeah, not many people know that, so let's try to keep that a secret as best as we can, but got other plans. I started leading worship for our middle school when we had it, and started leading for high school. And then eventually I built up the confidence to start leading worship for our adult service. And last month, I was able to lead worship by myself. Zach wasn't here. Jared, the intern, wasn't here. But it was me leading worship with a whole group of other people. I can tell you, if you would have told me this 5-6 years ago, that I'd be leading worship or even standing up here talking to you guys, I'd have been like, y'all are crazy. Each and every one of you have a gift that God has given you. And again, it may not be speaking in front of people. It may not be singing. Maybe it's leading. Maybe it's leading a small group. Maybe it's just talking to a friend or two about who God is and how much he's shown and given you everything that you need. It may not be material-wise everything that you need, but that's not what we want. We want to have that eternal life with Jesus. So here are 4 simple areas to explore how God has gifted you. So spiritual gifts. These are specific gifts that God gives us when we fully trust in Jesus. Some of these gifts include teaching, preaching, encouragement, serving, giving, acts of mercy, whatever it is. God has given you these gifts and built many of them into your personality. This means we don't have to stop being who God has created us to use our gifts. Second one is hobbies. We all have hobbies, things that we love spending time on, right? How many of you have a hobby? We have some sort of hobby, right? Whether it's watercolor painting, hiking, playing an instrument, and those gifts you could use regularly to connect with God. Next one is skills. These are similar to hobbies in that you enjoy doing them, but they are things the things in your life that you develop past the point of just being a hobby. These are things that you could be, that could be considered an expert in. You already spend so much time doing them. What would it look like for you to connect with God while doing those things? You can take friends on a hike, talk to them about God there. Maybe you join a club or a class or something of painting, and you can paint something or talk to others while you're painting. Playing an instrument, unless you learn from YouTube, you're probably going to learn it from someone else, and if they don't already know God, there's an opportunity right there. And then eventually, those gifts, these skills things that you're really good at, can turn in to something that you can serve God with. And character traits. These are how God wired you. These are about you that make you, you. These personality traits, whether you love crowds of people, if you prefer a quiet evening alone, whether you can think fast in certain situations, or you are a deep thinker who processes things over time, you can offer these gifts to connect with God and help others connect with God too. All of these gifts make you who God created you to be. Not all of us are the same. We're all different. God has given us different talents and different gifts. Sometimes those gifts come together. We make a great rhythm as we go along with things. If we want to create rhythms to use our gifts, we must start by exploring what God has given us. It takes courage to try new things, to discover how uniquely we are gifted. Ask God for help. In prayer time, ask him like, hey, God, I don't necessarily know where my gift and talents are. I know you've given me some. What are they? Can you help me? It could be something simple like that. It could be this holy, big prayer. Or just be like, hey, God, hey, can you help me with the gifts? But you got to do it from the right place. You can't just say, hey, God, you gave me these gifts. Where are they? You can't demand. You got to do it with the right heart. If you do it with the wrong heart, are you really doing it for God or are you doing it for yourself? Once you discover your gifts and find places to use them, you can create a rhythm of using them to serve others. These are not coincidences. These are ways that God has specifically formed you and wants to connect with you and help connect with others. I've said it a few times, but I want to keep saying it. Each and every one of you in this room has a gift or a talent, whether it's playing a specific sport, whether it's hiking, whether it's you play an instrument. Maybe you're really good with computers. Maybe you enjoy spending time with kids. Maybe, he's not up here, but Liam is serving in our cafe area. I didn't really see him being a people person, but guess what? He's being a people person serving in the cafe area. How many of you can follow instructions, follow directions? As middle schoolers, half of you do. I'm sure your school, like as the teacher looked up at me, she was like, hey, yep. So like some of you do, some of you can't, but I mean, cafe, that's what it is. It's just following instructions, making sure that you're doing things right. Maybe it's helping back here to where Caleb or myself doesn't have to run the computer while still trying to get things done here. Maybe you want to be a part of helping welcome people as they walk up here. They're your peers. Welcome them. You can stay behind the desk with Caleb or myself or whoever's back there and say hi and make sure that they get checked in, make them feel welcomed. Maybe you are the person who wants to be by yourself and you don't want to be around others. You know what? If you want to, sit back here or sit in one of these chairs for a split second and just pray for everybody who walks up that door, walks through those steps. There are many different ways for you guys to use your gifts and talents. If you don't know what they are, pray for them. Maybe ask a leader to help. We'll help you try to figure it out one way or another. We want to see you guys serve because that's what we're called to do. And when we're all working together, the same exact thing, it flows together and it all points back to God at the end of it, no matter what we do, as long as we're serving with the right heart. I hope that this just isn't the start of you learning about your gifts and how to use them. I hope that you are able to explore your hobbies, the skills, the character traits, and spiritual gifts that you have been given to connect with God and each other. And just like creating music, you have to try some things out first to see what works for you and what God has given you. And as you begin to see what those things are, you can create rhythms to use your gifts. So here's what I want to challenge you with this week. I have 3 different challenges. 1, none of you can drive. None of you are old enough except for the leaders. You're not old enough. You don't have your license. You don't have your license. Sure. Shh. Pray in the car. If you gave me a second to, my challenge, pray in the car. You're either in the bus or in a car being driven to school. For those of you who are homeschooled, pray as you're walking to your desk, okay? Something, all right? But pray in the car or in the bus on your way to school. Pray for the day. Pray for your friends. Pray for your teachers, because at the end of the day, they need a lot of patience. Listen to maybe one worship song a day. I'm not saying it's got to be anything special. Just listen to one worship song. Or read Psalm 100 once a day. And I have it pulled up here, so I was able to show it to you guys. So here's what it says. Psalm 100 says, shout for joy to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come before him with joyful songs. Know that the Lord is God. It is he who made us, and we are his. We are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Enter the gates of thanksgiving and the courts with praise. Give thanks to him and praise his name. For the Lord is good, with his love endures forever. His faithfulness continues through all generations. So pick one. Do all three. Do two of them. My challenge for you, pick one. Okay? I'm going to pick one of them. I'm going to do one of these with you. You guys aren't alone in this. My challenge is that the leaders will do the same. They pick at least one of them and do it. I can tell you, if you read Psalm 100 once a day, maybe that gets you in the Bible more, which would be great. I can tell you I don't read my Bible every day. I need to be. So my plan is I want to read Psalm 100 once a day at least. I think it's a good reminder for us. So pick one of them. Pray in the car, listen to a worship song, or read Psalm 100 once a day. But I want to leave you with this. We already read 1 Peter 4:10, but I thought verse 11 was just as important as anything else that I've said today. Here's what it says. If anyone speaks, they should do so as one who speaks the very words of God. If anyone serves, they should do so with the strength God provides, so that in all things God may be praised through Jesus Christ. To him be the glory and the power forever and ever. Amen. These gifts that you have, whether you know what they are right now or not, they're not yours. God gave them to you. So give him praise for all that he's done. Let's pray.